and welcome to Abstracate, where ideas take shape, thoughts find out, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. One of his advocacy helping parents and adults backward design the life they always imagine with purpose, strategy, and a little bit of a swagger. None other than Mr. Nathaniel Turner. Welcome, Mr. Nathaniel, once again on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure. I'm Nathaniel Turner, father, author, husband, um, financial advisor, do a number of things. But the reason that I'm here today is just to talk to people about how to backward design a child's life, such the way that we did nearly 30 years ago.
30 years ago. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Nathaniel. Thank you. And today let's talk about, are you living the life you want or just getting by? So tell us, Mr. Nathaniel, let's start with the brutal but necessary self assessment. What are the most common telltale signs that someone is merely getting by versus actively living the life they want?
Sure. One of the first signs is that a person doesn't have a dream. And so if you don't have a dream, you really are just getting by because life is nothing but having a series of dreams and doing your absolute best to achieve those dreams. And then once you achieve them, setting another goal or dream and then working towards making it happen.
Interesting indeed. And many people live on autopilot. What does autopilot look like in a modern life, and how can we first become aware that we're stuck in it?
So, autopilot is when you wake up every day and you carry on in a new day the very same way you did the previous day. And that's just not how life should work. Every day is a gift, and we should use the gift in a way that is different from the previous day. And what I mean by that is we should make sure that we're doing something that if today were our last day on the planet, we'd be absolutely satisfied that on that day we live the best way we could possibly live.
Yes. Life is too short, people, and live a life that you want to be. And Mr. Nathaniel, you often talk about the gap between our current reality and our desired life. What is the first step to even measuring that gap without feeling overwhelmed?
First thing is to again, it's to dream, but it is for most people is to be able to say to yourself, maybe ask this question: if the world were perfect, then what? And by asking if the world were perfect, what you are able to do is at least intellectually make this hurdle that there are no obstacles or obstructions or no barriers in your way. There's certainly none that you can't climb over or run through, knock down, etc. And if you had a life that was set up that way, what would you do? And in most cases, we would do a whole lot more than we're currently doing.
Interesting. Yeah. Is it possible to be highly successful by societal standards, a good job, a nice house, and still be fundamentally just getting by? How does this paradox manifest?
Yeah, well, because material things don't guarantee happiness. In fact, for a lot of people, material things put you in a prison. As an example, if you're a person and you have great wealth, and most people would say, well, you get freedom to do whatever you want to do, but in some ways, you don't have the freedom to do whatever you want to do because people who would know you would, and if you were concerned, if you want to do you harm, so that they could take what you had, then you don't have the same level of freedom. So the freedom that you seek in life has very little to do with material possessions. Outside of certainly making sure you can meet your basic needs, food, clothing, shelter, etc. Freedom is not necessarily found in things that rust or moth destroy.
Yes, indeed. And Mr. Nathaniel, on the obstacles and the why, what is the single greatest psychological barrier that keeps people trapped in a life or just getting by? Is it fear, comfort, or something else?
It's the space between your two ears. That's your biggest obstacle. You are your biggest obstacle. The person in the mirror is the biggest obstacle to you being successful or having the life that you desire.
Indeed. How does the tyranny or practicality, paying bills, meeting obligations, get weaponized as an excuse to avoid pursuing a more fulfilling life?
Um, I think and I'm not sure I understood the question exactly. So I'm before I even attempt to answer it, I'm asking if you could repeat the question.
Definitely. So, Mr. Nathaniel, how does a tyranny of practicality, like paying bills, meeting obligations, get weaponized as an excuse to avoid pursuing more fulfilling life?
Well, I think if I understand the question correctly, what we tend to do is if we're trying to meet our daily expenses, we then would say we don't have time. We don't have the time or energy to try to do something different. But the truth is, all we have is time, and all we have is energy. And if we have a current situation, it doesn't look like it's going to change. The only way our life is going to change if we change the way that we approach the living.
Yes, definitely. And we often thought to seek external validation. How does this conditioning disconnect us from knowing what we truly want in the first place?
Yeah, I don't. I do think on some levels we're all looking for an external validation. We're human and we exist in a space with other humans. So it would seem in some ways you wouldn't quite know if you succeeded or you failed without having the ability to measure it against another human. But I think those measurements can go too far. I'm not supposed to be like Michael Jordan. I'm not 6'6" and etc. So it's unfair for me to measure myself against that. My measurement should be against being the best version of me that I can be and finding a way to do that each day again and again. And if I do enough of that, eventually I'll be exactly who I want to be without worrying about measuring myself against anyone else.
Yes, measure yourself the way you want to be, people. Can you talk about the role of energy and vitality? Is it a persistent feeling of exhaustion because of just getting by or a symptom of it?
Energy, I mean, energy could be positive or it could be negative. Energy could be good or bad. I mean, the energy it's always there. It's the question of how you decide to use it. I mean, you can use energy any way you want to. We get, essentially, we get 24 hours, 1,440 minutes a day, 86,400 minutes. We can use those minutes, hours, the very same way we use energy. We can use them to do good. We can use them to do great. We can use them to do nothing. You can lay in the bed and that's energy. Or you could get up and go for a run. That's energy. Like how you choose to use energy is completely um, up to you. You have free will to create positive or negative energy.
And Mr. Nathaniel, on vision and defining the life you want, many people struggle to define what they actually want. What exercises or question can help someone move from a vague feeling of discontent to a clear vision?
I would think if you, again, I don't know what people believe in, if it's God, the universe, the spirit, like something greater than you, whatever name it is that you believe, which most people believe that there's something bigger than them that created this existence that they have. I would ask those people to ask themselves if that entity whispered in their ear and said, "Today is your last day, unless you can show me what you plan to do with your life." I believe people would strategically come up with things that they wanted to do that they hadn't done, and maybe we should look at it the way life really is, that it's temporal. Tomorrow's not promised. And so we should be getting busy about doing everything we could possibly do while we still have time.
Yes, definitely. Life is too short, people, and build a legacy to the world. The life you want is not just about career. How do we ensure we're building a life that is rich in relationships, health, curiosity, and contribution?
You should just maybe think about your life in its backward sense, which is to say, if your life was over, what is it that you want written in your obituary? Who is it that you like people to say you were in your eulogy? And in those last words that appear on your tomb or your urn or wherever people remember you, what do you want that to say? And whatever those things are, that should be your direction about how you live today and every day. I mean, you should do that by looking at your life. You look at your life backward. So that's the way I would suggest to do that.
Interesting, Mr. Nathaniel. And how important is it to have a bold, audacious vision to your life versus focusing on a small tail intentions? Do we need both?
Yeah, you're gonna need small things to do because that becomes part of your process. There are going to be steps. They're going to be in column ingredients. There are things that you have to do to prepare for the larger achievement. But I think you should set your sights, I should say, on something big, bold, and audacious. We all should have a north star, something that we're looking to get us to this place, this promised land, this place of freedom where we're the best versions of ourselves. But we absolutely have to have that. But each day requires just a process. I call it like farming. There are things farmers do, and they do those things repeatedly without any indication when they may have a harvest. They could guess. They could look at an almanac. They certainly know what the crop size yield that they would like, but they don't know if it'll rain too much. They don't know if it'll be frost. They don't know if there'll be too many insects or rodents in the crop and eat the crop. What they do know is that every day there's a certain amount of work that needs to be done if there is ever going to be a harvest. And people have to approach life the same way.
It's a process indeed, people. Your work suggests that the life you want is something else. So let's talk about the transition and taking action. For someone feeling stuck, what is one small, non threatening first step they can take today to start shifting from passive to active living?
Well, we're usually stuck because we've convinced ourselves that something is impossible for us to do. And then I would ask us to ask and answer the very same way we would ask someone who we love dearly to ask and answer when there was something they would want to do. And my experience is that we have a whole lot more faith in what other people might do than we do ourselves. So we give people advice that we don't necessarily follow ourselves. So again, I think the answers that you're seeking are always between your own two ears. And so, challenge yourself and support yourself and offer yourself the same grace and mercy that you would offer somebody that you loved.
Yes, indeed. And making a life change often involves risk and potential failure. How do we build the courage to tolerate that discomfort?
On the other side of risk is ease. On the other side of failure is achievement. We don't have to look only at the negative implications. That's a choice. That's the story we want to tell. We could look at the other side and say, when I get here, oh my God, my life is going to be so much easier than it is now. Oh my goodness, I can't wait. I'm going to have achieved so many of my most audacious hopes and dreams. It's in the way that you choose to look at it. You can look at the coin and look at the side that says risk and challenges, or you can look at the side of the coin that says ease and achievement. The choice is yours.
Yes, ease and achievement. Yes, the people around us can anchor us in our old lives. How should someone navigate relationships with friends or family who are invested in them staying the same?
I mean, people have to decide if I use the analogy from nature, people have to decide if they want to be a pigeon or if they want to be an eagle. If you're okay with everybody having an input in your life, then that's fine. Then you're probably going to be more pigeon than you are going to be eagle because eagles are unafraid to fly by themselves. So if you have a dream or a goal and the people around you don't share your dream or goal and you're okay with meandering with them where they are instead of flying to your highest height, well, then you've made this choice that you prefer to be a pigeon rather than an eagle. But if you want to soar and have a great life, you got to be okay with it. Oftentimes, flying by yourself, or in the case of eagles, flying the new birds of the same feather to flock with.
Yes. And Mr. Nathaniel, what role do our daily habits and routines play in this distinction? Is the life you want built through grand gestures or the architecture of our everyday?
I mean, we all have habits or routines, and um, we have them sometimes without even noticing that we have them. But the people who succeed have intentional habits. They've decided again, like the farmer, that each day I must get up at a particular hour before the sun rises, and I have to plow the land. I have to plant seed. I have to pull up weeds. I have to fertilize the land. I have to irrigate the land. They realize every day there are things that they must do to have a harvest. People have to do the same thing. We have to wake up realizing that there are certain things we must do in order to have the kind of harvest that we want in our life. Otherwise, if your habit is to lay in a bed, um, not imagine anything good in your life, keep telling yourself that you can't accomplish something, continue hanging around with people who are not trying to accomplish something, well, you also have a habit. You also have a routine. And that routine and that habit won't get you to where you say you want to go.
Mr. Nathaniel, what are your short-term and long-term goals as you helping parents all over the world?
Yes, I mean, I think that's the question is my long term goal to help parents all over the world?
Yes, please.
Yeah, absolutely. My biggest goal is to do that. But I would also say my goal is to help parents to more clarity help their own children. Like I don't want to just help parents. I want to show parents, equip parents to be able to do for their children equal or greater things than we were able to do for our child.
So, good luck to your goals, Mr. Nathaniel, and looking forward for more success. And what would be a piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Well, I don't think anybody should want to be like me. People should want to be the best version of them. And my one piece of advice would be that make sure that they know who they are, and more specifically, as I mentioned earlier, who they want to be when their time on this planet is up. Because 175,000 people every day go to sleep and do not
Hmm.
wake up. They don't wake up for the next day. And that could be any one of us. So I'd ask you to ask yourself now, who are you? And and are you who you want to be when your life comes to an end?
Yes, building a legacy is something else, people. And thank you for that advice, Mr. Nathaniel.
My pleasure.
Then let's talk about on the mindset and the journey. A common fear is what if I pursue the life I want, I'm still not happy. How do you address that?
Again, just it's a matter of a mindset. If you one Dr. Carolyn Dwight calls this growth or fixed mindset. The person who says puts limitations on what might happen that's negative has a person that has a fixed mindset, or maybe let's just say a negative mindset. But the person has a growth mindset says, let's just see. Like, let's see what happens. Like, what's the worst could happen if I get to the place where this life I wanted, it turns out it's not as good as I thought it was. Well, then fine. Then the next day, you set a new course for a different life because you didn't know what this life was going to be because you never lived it before. So you can offer yourself as you would someone else some grace and mercy and say, "Hey, well, we didn't know, but now we're here. Now we can decide how to make this better." But each day, that's the challenge: how to make today better than yesterday was.
A challenge indeed. And Mr. Nathaniel, the phrase enjoying the journey is something else. How do we learn to find joy and meaning in the process of building a life, not
Well,
just a destination?
what joy it does not stick around. Joy is a thing that happens momentarily. You have a good moment and you feel a moment of joy, but soon that washes over you. And then so what you have to do is always be in search of joy, and you have to do that on purpose. I mean, the joy you're going to find for most people is found in doing things that are in service to something greater than you. So if there's something you want to do and you can find a way to connect it with serving other people, you're more likely, I believe, to live with joy than you are if everything you do is simply about yourself.
Is living the life you want is a final destination you arrive at, or is a continuous ongoing process of adjustment and alignment?
It's at the core of your being. If you could name three or four things that you would want people to remember about you, those things are unchanging. If I say, Daniel, I want people to know that I want to help folks, that I want to be in service to something greater than me. Um, I want to make sure everyone who I come in contact with on a daily basis knows their life matters. If only one person does that, I like that person to be me. Right? I want to be in the best shape that I possibly can be, etc. If those are the things that I want people to remember me by, those things don't change. Getting to a
Mm.
place where you have some material possession, that might change. You might have a big house and you're like, I never needed this big old house. This is ridiculous. You may have some fancy car and you think, I don't even like this. I have to park my car 2 blocks away at an event because I'm worried about who might scratch my vehicle. You may get to a place in your life and you may achieve what you thought you wanted to achieve and realize that those are more material possessions than elements of this indicate you have a quality of character. And then you just pivot and focus on the ways to continue to be who you want to be. Again, when your urn or your coffin, your headstone is scribed.
Yes, definitely. And Mr. Nathaniel, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I invite you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in third season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101. Movie 101 review and music 101 are fourth season, Science 101, Sex 101 in its second season, and my baby podcast Law 101, Mental Health 101, and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So finally, if you had to distill down, what is the core mindset shift that separates someone who is getting by for someone who is truly living?
Again, I'm gonna say it again or second or third time. The major thing is knowing who you are and who you want to be when your time is up.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Nathaniel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Sure, you can find me and the things that I'm doing at nathanielaturner.com. And you can find the work that we do with parents at the League of Extraordinary Parents, or lxtrap.com.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Nathaniel Turner because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering like this will rise. So, Mr. Nathaniel, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Have a great day.
Monica people, see you soon.